That'll be $3,500, please. That's not what you want to hear at the dealership when you take your car in for what you think is a regular checkup or tune-up, only to find out that there's a lot more wrong because you didn't perform the regular scheduled maintenance like you were supposed to. So today I'm going to talk to you about why it's important to take care of your car, get those items serviced, and how it can save you a lot of money. First, let's take a look at the engine, which is probably the biggest component of your car. See how it works. So here is a picture of a standard engine. Now air comes in here through your air intake and gets forced into your cylinder here. Along with that air, you're going to get fuel delivery through fuel injectors. And then that air and fuel will mix inside the cylinder. And when that piston comes up, it's going to compress everything down. And then right when it's up at the top, the piston's up at the top, it's most compressed, your spark plug is going to go off and ignite your gas and fuel or your gas and air mixture, creating a big explosion, forcing your piston back down, which turns your crankshaft right here, which essentially transfers the energy from your engine back to your transmission, which goes back to your, if it's front wheel drive, it'll turn your front wheels, and then if it's rear wheel drive, it'll turn your back wheels. So after that happens, after the explosion happens, your piston goes down, turns the crankshaft, it's going to come back up. And when it comes back up, it's going to force all the gases that were created out of the engine through an exhaust valve, which goes out your exhaust manifold and out the back of your car. So that's a very brief explanation of how your engine works. So let's see how that ties into the rest of your car and the rest of the things that you should take care of. Typical items to be serviced on your car are going to be your oil, your brakes, your transmission, and then what we call a tune-up or a fuel system treatment typically. A lot of those don't happen until later on, usually after 12, or right around 12,000 miles or every 12,000 miles for a regular tune-up. As far as a fuel system treatment, your brakes checked and cleaned, and sometimes your pads being replaced. Now the oil is extremely important because the oil lubricates everything. That piston that I was talking about here has little rings around it, and that keeps the oil out, but keeps the oil out of your air and fuel mixture, but it also allows that piston to move up and down freely, as well as your crankshaft, your camshaft, all the internal components. And if your oil starts to go bad, or you're not changing it regularly enough, you will get carbon buildup, which could potentially lead to seizing your engine or different cylinder failures. Now, another part of your car that you want to take care of are your brakes, obviously. Very, very obvious why you'd want to take care of those brakes. Typically, every 6,000 miles, you should get your brakes checked. What they do is they take your pads off, they scrape everything down because you get a lot of dust and carbon buildup from stopping, and your brake pads wear off, creating a bunch of buildup, which could seize your brakes as well. So you want to make sure you get those checked. As far as your transmission and antifreeze, you want to make sure that your transmission has adequate fluid. If it's automatic, if it's a manual, you don't typically change it, but you still want to make sure that it's good. Go into your dealership and ask them for a transmission flush, or if your antifreeze is low, make sure you have that checked. Those are a couple of the bigger things that happen. A little more pricey, but overall will save you in the long run. Now, as far as a tune-up goes, that's typically your plugs, your plug wires. By plugs, I mean spark plugs. Your spark plug wires, they check your coil, make sure all your systems are running good. They typically do a air filter change, and they will do a fuel filter change. Now, another thing that will go along with your tune-up, it's more or less right around the 12,000 mile mark, is a fuel system treatment, which will also prevent from any kind of buildup and make sure that your fuel system is good. And it runs a really, not corrosive, but it runs a mixture through your engine that will break up any carbon and everything else so that it'll keep your engine clean. So now that you know the items that should be maintained, here is what will happen if they aren't. If your oil isn't changed, you'll obviously see engine failure after a while. It takes a long time, but your engine will start to fail. You could run into high-cost repairs because you didn't maintain your engine, like the carbon buildup could cause you to lose a cylinder or seize one of those valves that opens up to let the fuel in or opens up to let the exhaust out, and you could If that happens, if it seizes and your valve is open when your piston comes up, it'll smack it and it'll ruin your piston, and then you'll have to buy a whole new engine, which is where that $3,500 in the intro came in. Typically right around that much. So obviously you're going to save a lot of money if you maintain your engine. You could get stranded if your engine decides to break down on you, or if your car decides it doesn't want to run anymore because you didn't maintain. You could also run into brake failure, which could lead to accidents at a stoplight. Say you're coming up to a stop sign or a stoplight and you can't stop, then you're going to hit somebody, and then it's going to cost you a lot of money. So doing the upkeep on your car can save you a lot in several different ways, and this is how you can help that process of saving money, obviously by performing the maintenance. Get regular maintenance performed. You can talk to your dealership, or even just go out and look at your manual that's in your car. It'll actually list the regular maintenance that should be performed and at what intervals, as far as usually by miles. Performing these things will save you a ton of money in the long run, and that's the biggest thing that you are trying to get from this, is that you're going to save a lot of money if you perform your maintenance. Some of the things are costly, like $100 for a transmission flush, but in the long run, it's a lot better than 35 times that amount. So obviously, it's important to take care of your car, to do the regular maintenance, get your car in checked, and keep up with it. And by doing that, you're going to save yourself a lot of money. I think we all want to save some money. So I hope you take a little bit from it, and I hope that you will now take a little bit more pride in your car and get it checked up, because it's not just something that'll run forever without you doing anything. So go out there and maintain your cars and have fun with them. Take care.